Good morning, my loves. So happy to be here with you on this high holiday, the winter solstice. I know that it officially happened here yesterday at like 4:20 a.m., but we're still in the darkness. You know, all you got to do is look out the window. It's still, I mean, it's nice right now, but the nights are long, and it's going to be a minute before they start breaking. So today I really wanted to just focus on reading for the collective for this season, for the winter solstice, to see what messages are kind of available for us, what guidance is available for us. So why don't we just start by taking a nice deep breath in, just letting yourself settle here into the space. Just letting yourself show up. Even if you are going about your business while listening to this, maybe just taking a moment here to bring yourself forward, to let yourself ground. It's easy to wake up and just jump into the work. We have to really carve out space. We have to really make a choice to show up. And it's not always easy. So here on Sunday mornings, we get this opportunity to practice, to remember, to call the parts of ourselves that are rushing forward, the parts of ourselves that are lingering in the past, parts of ourselves that are somewhere ahead of us or somewhere behind us. We get this chance to just practice tapping in and dropping in into the center. So just coming into the center of your heart. Just letting yourself drop into the center of your heart. Maybe imagining yourself walking down into a dark corridor and just finding that nice, warm, cozy, secluded, dark little chamber, the center of your heart, that place that belongs to only you. And maybe in that place there are records of everything this heart has lived, records of everything this heart has felt, everything this heart has seen. Just letting yourself nestle in. It's like this warm, cozy, maybe candlelit space. It comes with this certain quality of feeling. I want you to just connect to that quality, that sense of being in an experience, being in a central, cozy little chamber of safety. And it might take you a minute to really relax in that space, but I want to invite you to try, or I want to invite you to even pretend. Just pretend that you're in it. Just imagining what it would feel like if you were pretending to feel that way. This cozy little self. Maybe you let your body drop in, maybe your shoulders settle into this sense of comfort. Just letting yourself breathe for a moment. Within the self. Just landing within the self. And if it feels accessible, if it feels right for you, I want you to just kind of reach out and grab something off the shelf, and I want you to just open it up or be with it, just experience it, just witness it, just look at it. And just notice what you notice about what it is that's showing up here. What it is that you're looking at in this space. And just trusting whatever it is that's showing up. Just trusting whatever it is that you're experiencing around it. Maybe for me, it's often just a random word or thought will just drop in. I don't typically always see it clearly, but I will hear it. I'll see it like in word form. For others, I know that they get that experience of really seeing it like they were in a dream, kind of just witnessing themselves holding it. Just allowing yourself to hold it. Whatever it is. Maybe the impression of a feeling. Maybe the heightening of a sense. Just noticing what you notice about the way that you connect to yourself, connect to your higher self, and just letting yourself be here with it. And just taking what you need to take in, just tucking it into the spaces where you need it or that you'll remember that it is. And slowly making your way back out of that chamber to just kind of land in your seat. So knowing that you can return to this space and that this space is always here. I want you to just kind of land in your seat, and maybe that is an actual just expansion. Maybe you expand from that place in your heart to breathe out into more of yourself, bringing that connection to yourself into your seat, bringing it all the way down, and just letting yourself arrive here in this moment in the frequency on the Sunday of the solstice. And we're going to do a reading this morning. So I want you to just, if you're going about your business, go about your business, but just be in a receptive state, just allowing whatever information is meant for you to reach you in the ways that it needs to, the ways that are natural for you. So I'm going to pull 6 cards. The first card that I'm going to pull this morning is around the aspect of yourself that needs acknowledgement and acceptance. The aspect of yourself that perhaps has been outcasted but needs to be invited back into that chamber. The part of yourself that often goes ignored, overlooked, overshadowed, cast out. So we're looking to embrace the shadow with this first card. What aspect of yourself needs some acknowledgement or some acceptance? The Emperor. The Emperor. Dang. Okay. So, being in the shadow with the Emperor looks like, that kind of denial or rejection of order, rejection of strategy. I'm thinking of like the shadow father, right? Like that person who's just not willing to be present or show up. Maybe even a lack of availability. What I'm feeling, what I'm really feeling is like this kind of sense of like a lack of true presence. Thinking about the masculine, and take this or leave it, apply it in your own language. I'm going to speak from what I know and from what is clear for me. The masculine is that kind of sense of deep presence, right? It's like the place where we kind of come in to penetrate the moment, the ways that we allow the moment to penetrate us. Like there's almost an authority or some kind of trust in the self that gets to like fully show up here and be with whatever it is. There's almost a sense of a lack of doubt when we're truly in the emperor. It's like, yeah, I know exactly what to do and I'm going to do it and I trust myself to do it and I am here to provide and I'm here to assist and I'm here to, the benevolent king, even that kind of sense of like, yes, I'm here for the people. I'm like thinking in a sense of like what that looks like. And I'm like, yeah, what about Bernie? You know what I mean? There's just this sense of like, I will face whatever it is with a sense of confidence and I'll be centered in my heart. And really kind of like present with the moment. And so when I see this in this idea of like what that means to be in the shadows, there's almost just like an unavailability, when I think of like the distorted emperor, right? I'm thinking of a king who is ruling from a place of like force and authority and fear and is powering over instead of like being with the people and for the people. He's now above the people, looking down on the people. And I think that we have to be really careful with this energy within ourselves. And I think that's what it's kind of pointing at, like the ways that we are being with our power, and I'm thinking about it in our thoughts even. It's like the thoughts that have power over me, are they coming from the voice of a king who is powering over, is looking down on, is like, I'm thinking about those places where we are hard on ourselves, or where we are in punitive systems with ourselves, or where we are even wrapped up in strange power dynamics and playing them out with, ourselves ultimately, but also our relationships, right? It's like, how are we showing up in the moment? Is it coming from a sense of fear and then act like we're acting out of our insecurities because who we naturally are in that kind of in our presence is benevolent. We have an open heart. We just did it. We dropped into our heart and we kind of opened up that space, and then yeah, we landed in our throne, right? And so it's like there's a big difference between ruling from heart, over the kingdom that we are responsible for, over our life, ruling from a place of like, yeah, I'm in my heart, I'm surrendered, like I'm here, I want to help, I want to serve, I want to direct this because I'm the best person for the job, I'm the authority over my own life. How do I want to rule? Do I want to rule my actions? Do I want to rule my world like from a place of fear and urgency, or do I want to like really trust myself to be here with it and to show up in it and to kind of be seated in my authority with it? I'm like, yeah, I am the authority because I know the most, like I'm the only one who knows how to live my life authentically, how to live my life in alignment, right? I'm the only one who knows the best way to live for me. And so that makes me the authority over my life. And when we think about the emperor in the shadows, it's like, okay, if you are the authority over your life, what kind of authority, like what is the current relationship with authority? Is it distorted? Are we acting rebellious just because we want to bump up against something because we feel in some way, you know, constricted by the rules, right? It's like that kind of like rebel without a cause. It's like, okay, can I actually direct my energy? If I can see that, can I direct my energy to use this rebellious energy in a way that actually serves, right? Am I just acting out my daddy issues? You know what I mean? Like, and it's not really working for me in the way that I want it to work. I'm like using this distorted relationship to power to get what I want, but it's not empowering me because it's not requiring me to fully step in and be present with what it is that I need to do and then be responsible for it. I hope this is landing because I'm kind of just letting it roll. But yeah, this sense of our relationship to power and the power over our lives. This winter, kind of like, and we're moving into a really strange fucking time. It's fucking weird, and there is a new emperor in town. You know, there is currently a change of hands, right? And we're gonna really be seeing it through this winter season. You know, that first kind of impression of it. So how are we going to stay with ourselves? How are we going to be empowered within ourselves to continue to meet the moments, regardless of how, you know, big they feel? It's like, can I let myself be just as big? Can I let myself feel just as empowered? And I'm almost seeing like the beginning, that emp, there's almost like the word or the sense of like empowered, like, the emperor, like that kind of like relationship we have with power, and how we distort it for ourselves within our lives, but maybe even how we hmm, yeah, I'm gonna stop right there because it just went blank. So yeah, um yep, all right. So can we let ourselves, yeah, can we let ourselves feel just as big? My teacher, when I was in energy healing school, always said, like, the biggest energy field wins. And last night I was actually talking to another friend who works with energy, and I was talking about a scary movie, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I think that movie, like, literally contains like an entity or whatever. Like, I will never watch it again. It fucked me up. And she was like, oh, I don't believe that. Like, the biggest energy wins, basically. Like, you just have to get bigger than it. It doesn't have any power over you. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's true, but also it was traumatic. But the biggest energy field wins. Like, if we are bigger than it, then it has no power over us. And that's what we see with the daddy. He's the big one. He's the one who we're kind of like there is, I'm almost looking at it being above me, because that's the relationship we have with it, right? Like, it is this kind of idea of the authority. And so can we rise to be with it? So we're not doing this anymore, but we're like straight up like meeting the moment, meeting it, right? And also in a sense of mutual respect. I think we need to like really be in a sense of respect with it, respect with the power that we hold, respect with the powers that other holds, so that we can kind of like come together in a dynamic that serves sovereignty, that allows us all to rule. Love that. All right, so the next card is, what obstacle is being called, like, what obstacle are we now looking at? What's being kind of faced in this, and how can we do it with grace? How can we do it with courage? What obstacle are we looking at in reference to the Emperor? So the Ace of Pentacles, the Ace of Pentacles. So thinking about our resources, the Pentacles they're the earth. And so thinking about that being the obstacle that we're kind of facing, what I'm seeing there is this idea that, like, if we don't feel whole unto ourselves, if we are not connected to ourselves, if we are, a little bit of our power is over here, we've given a little bit of our power over here, we're afraid of this, we're manipulating this, we are, kind of like trapped in this, or we are just living in all of these different places, and we're not in our presence, we're not in our power. It's more likely that we are going to be drained, right? Like, and even that's a thing, right? It's like, when I show up to a hard situation resourced, it's a lot more likely that it's going to go the way that I wanted it to go, because I've been well fed. It's like showing up to a fight hungry, like showing up to your student loans tired. It's like showing up to these big, giant, huge things that you have to face, and you haven't even, like, really, you don't have what you need to even feel like on a survival base, like on the very base of it, that you have what you need to even show up in the way you want to show up, right? It's like, am I actually resourcing myself to take responsibility? Like, how do I need to resource myself in order to actually be in my power? I mean, that's like such a beautiful question. Like, how do you need to be resourced? And when you are resourced, or what do you need in order to feel empowered? What do you need in order to feel like you have yourself? What do you need on a base level? You know, like how many hours of sleep do you need? Uh, and what feels the best for you? You know, how much food do you need a day? And what kind of food? How much money do you need in the bank to not feel like you are coming from a sense of urgency or survival? Um, what do you need to actually feel whole? What do you need to actually feel fed? You know, the Ace of Pentacles is an auspicious, beautiful card. It is the earth. It is like the perfect kind of circle of reciprocal relationship between us and the physical world, right? And so when we see that relationship, what is actually available to us, you know, this like perfect, I'm just thinking of this perfect little, we had on our wedding altar, we had these beautiful pentacle cookies, and a friend of mine made them, and they were just like the perfect biscuit, you know, just thinking of like the perfect, a friend of mine just made butter cookies too, and I'm just like the perfect little butter cookie of just like, this is the perfect morsel, you know, and I'm here with it. It's like, how do we allow ourselves to really kind of have ourselves and be present with the matter, what matters in our life, be present with what it is we need to do in relationship to our resources. What is it that we need to meet those survival needs so that we can actually enjoy it and slow down with it, and be present with it, opposed to feeling like we need to like force it or rule over it. I'm almost thinking of the difference of like, yeah, being in right relationship with it, knowing exactly how much money you need a month, working for it in a way that is sustainable and um, you know, responsible, and offers you what it is that you want in your life, opposed to having to hustle and force and always being in survival, and you know, draining yourself, draining the resources. We see it right with the billionaires. It's like, how can we why is their wealth being hoarded when there are people starving, you know? Why is it that the one with the most money has the most power and gets to be the authority when there are wise people? You know, it's just like this division. It's like there's a power over, but there's also like, what if we all just had what we needed? What would that look like? How would we be arriving to life? How would the world change? How would our lives change? How would our day to days change if we had what we needed? And how can you give yourself what you actually need on a day to day basis so that you can actually be present, so that you're not arriving to your art, to your altar, to your daily practices, to your relationships, starving. So you're not showing up there completely drained and then getting into a fight and feeling all distorted in like your relationship to your power. Either you feel like, you know, it's like, well, now I'm less than, or now I'm more than, right? We have to kind of like overcompensate or undercompensate when we are in out of alignment, out of balance with ourselves, right? Or in kind of power dynamics. So it's like, what do you actually need to just show up the way you want to show up and be the person you want to be? What do you need in order to feel whole? And how does that contribute to your relationship to yourself, you feeling empowered, you feeling like the power over your life, feeling like you have power over your life? That's great. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about nurturing your inner life, and like the practices that are going to nourish you, the practices that are going to resource you, the practices that are going to be a part of, you know, what we're talking about, the practices that are going to actually help you stay in yourself and get what you need and take care of yourself in the ways that you need to take care of yourself. So what practice or action can you engage in to nourish that and ignite a sense of inspiration as we move towards in bulk now, what is going to kind of like get you to come up and out and move towards that life that you feel in the guidance that's here. The Wheel of Fortune. So honestly, the first thing that's dropping in is just like movement. I'm just like, yeah, like it's time to move. It's time to, and we're about to open up the spirit coven for the issue, for issue 2, which is based on air. And one thing that's been showing up a lot for me in my exploration of air in the preparations is movement, right? Like the wind and the air is responsible for so much movement. And that's what's kind of dropping in for me here right now. It's like, it's time to move. Like, it's time to move. It's time to move and create movement our in our power center. I'm going to say in our in the things that have been keeping us from fully aligning with our own sovereignty and fully allowing us to be empowered in ourselves. Like, it is time to create movement. You know where you need to move. You know the movement that you most need in order to create change in this. And it's now time to do that. And again, we're looking at the winter solstice. So this is going to be a slow process. And I think that's a part of what the wheel shows us too, is that like no matter what, it's going to happen. So there really isn't much that you actually have to do. It's not like we're going to like come from this place of like all engines on, like go, go, go. But it's because it's not natural to where we currently are on the wheel. But what we have to do is continue to keep aligning ourselves with what it is we know we are ready to move towards. And that's the question. What are you ready to move towards? And what do you need? How do you need to resource yourself in order to feel powerful enough to do that? That's literally the question. What are you moving towards? What do you know you need to do in order to feel empowered? In order to gain the authority you need to stay within yourself, to be within yourself, to be the authority over yourself? What do you need to do? And what do you need in order to feel resourced and empowered to do that? What pattern or identity or old beliefs are being called to shed in order to facilitate this movement? So what old beliefs, what are we looking at? What's ready to kind of like be decomposed through this winter, kind of like be brought really deep back down into the earth and transformed through her cycles? What old patterns, beliefs, or identities are asking to be shed this winter? The Six of Pentacles. So again, we're looking at money. We're looking at our resources. We're looking at our energy. We're looking at the ways that we take account for ourselves, the ways that we are with ourselves, the presence we have with our resources. It's like, if there is an old way of doing something that we know no longer works, it is not sustainable. It is leading to burnout. It is leading to a drain of the resources. It is exploiting the resources. It is destroying it is like not reciprocal. It is no longer being reciprocated. If we can see that those places, if those old kind of ways of being, the acting out of urgency, the whatever it is, you know what it is. If we can see that that pattern is no longer working, it is now up to us to resource ourselves enough, to empower ourselves enough to move towards the new. What is the new way of being? What is the new pattern? How can I be responsible for what I see, in the sense that I can see that this is no longer working? So now back to the drawing board, I'm almost getting the sense of like back to the numbers, like what actually do I need in order to make this work? I'm almost seeing the wheel moving towards new ways of being in relationship to our resources. I'm like thinking about why I choose to be in the containers that I pay for and that I'm in is because they feed me and they keep me motivated towards what it is that I set out to create. Does a coffee every day do that? No. Does like coffee from the local shop do that? No. Like paying $15 at the coffee shop every week and then saying I don't have enough money to be in the containers that I want to be in that are aligned with my dreams and empower me is a misuse of resources, right? And in it, I'm caught on the wheel of my own distortion, right? Of power, of my own distortion with disempowering myself. So there is a call here to really start to take responsibility for what it is that we set out to create, knowing that we are powerful creators, knowing that we do have power, knowing that we are the authority over our own life and the authority over the resources that are contained within our lives. Am I turning the wheel in the direction that I actually want to go? And if I'm not, how do I need to adjust in order to get back on track with creating what it is that I want to create, what I want to be seen as responsible for? It is now time to get responsible for the ways you're using your resources, especially with as tight as things are. And I don't know what it's going to look like in the next couple of years, but it's like, okay, like there's going to have to be a new economy, and that might mean, for me, it means that I no longer spend my money with. I mean, it's starting small, but for me, it's like I haven't been to a Starbucks in like going on 7 months, 8 months since fucking Palestine began on October 7th. Like, there are these small things we have to do to divest in order to reinvest in the things that are actually aligned with our values. And it does require hard work, but we also then we're living in integrity and we're building trust with ourselves. And I think realizing that we do have power because we are consenting to the world being the way that it currently is, because we are leaning into the conveniences that it provides. So it feels very important to kind of like get your house in order and make sure that you are in balance with the ways that you're almost living in your values. Where do you actually want to see your money go? Where do you actually want to see your energy go? How do you actually want to live your life? And can you claim authority to begin to do it? Can you be the authority that says, this is the new rule? This is the new boundary. This is the new strategy. This is how we're showing up. When I'm seated in my power, when I'm seated in my throne, how does it look when I'm steering the wheel then? When I'm truly empowered, where am I taking myself? Where am I taking the wheel, right? Where am I turning the wheels? There's a sense of really kind of getting that in order and making sure that we are allowing our resources to empower us and not disempower us. Damn, that's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna just like tap into how can we nurture this? How can we allow ourselves to tap into the feminine and pardon me, tap into the feminine and yeah, just kind of like nurture this. We have a lot of masculine energy here with the emperor and all of these kind of like, this feels like really kind of like having to weigh out, and like measure and kind of look at it. It feels a bit masculine too. So how can we invite in the feminine here to help us nurture what we're seeing? Oh, this is beautiful. The star, and it ties in so well with the event this evening, the winter solstice art blessing that we're doing tonight at 7, and connecting with the North Star. I think this is. I was talking to Joe a couple of days ago, and I was like, I was looking at my chart, and this theme, this concept around Neptunian complex came up. And I guess I have that in my chart, which is basically just like being a daydreamer and like almost using the mind as like an escape. And I was kind of talking to Joe about that, just being this like kind of magical little like dreamer and how hard it actually is for me to do that at this point. And he was just like encouraging me. He's like, no, you need more of a Neptune complex. Like just lean in, just like get fucking weird with it. Just go off into the fantasy, And I'm like, I think that is such a sweet concept because there is such innocence in allowing ourselves to be guided by the stars, right? There is such a almost just like magical, mystical, feminine, soft, whimsical, dreamy self, that longs and can see that there's something bigger guiding us, right? And I think that we really do kind of have to like, I'm almost seeing the emperor next to the star, I'm seeing like someone who's empowered and feels powerful enough within themselves to admit that they don't know it all, to admit that they are just a part of the whole, right? It's like I am not the whole, but I'm just a part of it, and what I do affects the whole. So I that's almost like a call to the responsibility. But I love this piece around because the emperor knows that so there's something bigger than itself. It then looks out and up into those larger, more symbolic, more magical symbols, those magical omens and synchronicities that guide us, right? It's like almost allowing the self to wish for more and to reach out for more and to ask for more by allowing ourselves to look up and out, and believing, it's like we have to believe that that star is guiding us and trust that that star is guiding us to follow it. It's like what it's one thing to kind of like arrive in the emperor as a sense of like, what is it that you want? Say it, like, and like kind of force the answers out of us. It's another thing to be like, hey, what is your heart longing for? Like, what are you like in whatever's coming up today, like in the movement that wants to occur, in the changes that want to occur around how you're living in your day-to-day life, this season, like how can you almost like let oh, I just lost my train of thought there, but how can we let ourselves kind of like open up and be guided opposed to forced, or kind of like pushed into change? How can we let ourselves just be guided into change? And this really relates, I think, to that piece that was coming up when we pulled the wheel around like it's seasonal, right? It's like, yeah, there are things that need to change, but we have to realize that like now isn't the season to like try to go full force on it. We need extra rest. We're also hibernating right now, and so it has to be a trust in the intelligence that lives within us, that this almost like a return to our natural way of being, our natural self, to kind of just like trust that there are these instincts that are going to be pulling us forward always, and that instinct and that power that pulls us forward is going to naturally create movement. It's like the wheel is on an axis, so it's just like it's gonna move, and so we can trust that guiding force, just those small little inklings we get, those small instincts that occur to us, those ideas that show up, the omens, the signs that show up, the feelings, the senses. It's like those are a part of the changes that are occurring. If we were to just enter into conversation with spirit, with the stars, with our natural world, we would be creating change. Oh my God, I saw Wicked last night, and although like musicals are really hard for me, I was still moved and touched, and obviously because it's just so powerful and so beautiful. And I was just thinking about the animals losing their voices, like the idea of animals having their voices in Oz. Like the natural world speaks, and it has spoken, and it needs people who will listen, and so thinking about ways that we can nurture the change. It's like, yeah, like what do I know is right, what do I know is wrong, especially in relationship to the ways that I use my energy, my time, my money, my power. Where am I giving my power? Like, where do I know it's now time to call that power back to me? Like, what do I stand for? And what am I guided by? And how far am I willing to go to follow it? At what point do I choose to just follow that star? if we really want to nurture this movement that's on the table right now, it's like, yeah, we have to follow those instincts. We have to follow our belief. We have to really stand for our belief. We have to really trust and have faith in the path that's before us, in the work that is required, in what it is that we need to do to really be in our power. And, think about the emperor. Like, the emperor is responsible for a lot. And that means that if something goes wrong, it is also the emperor's responsibility to make right, or the emperor who takes the blame, right? And so it's they're big shoes to fill. And we can guarantee that when we are truly in our power, that people are going to have a problem with it. They're going to blame us. They're going to look at it as like, she's gone too far. She's like, she's delusional. She is, just following the stars. There's gonna be in a system that's built around the disempowerment of the individual in order to rule over, it is going to be inflammatory to be in your power. And maybe that's a part of what keeps us from fully rising to feel it, to letting ourselves feel just as big, right? It's like, maybe there is that fear, but this card is asking us, like, are you going to follow it regardless or not? Do you have the power to actually sit in the throne of your life? Do you believe that you are the authority over your life? That it's up to you to do what is right in your kingdom, to rule the ways and to create in the ways and to affect change in the ways that are right for you, to live by your moral code, to live by your code, and to be the authority over your life. What area in my life do I need to be more present in? We've been talking a little bit about this, but what area of my life do I need to be a little bit more present in? So we have the star, and now we have the moon, and I think this is perfect for the winter solstice, right? Because we are really working more with the star, the dark night, than we are with the high day, right? So we have more time to be in the darkness. We have more time to be in the shadows. There are parts of you that go unconscious, and you know what parts I'm talking about, because the parts of you that are unconscious create a lot of almost like, hmm, I'm like thinking about the situations in our lives that are really hard to change, right? They are almost like, it's almost like I go blank. It's like when we like, I don't know, if I'm like emotional eating, sometimes I will literally just not even remember. I'm just like not even present with it. You know what I mean? Or like smoking cigarettes, where it's like, or smoking, or doing anything that we are kind of just like mindlessly doing, even though there's a part of us that doesn't want to do it. There's this other part of us that almost blanks out and makes us do it anyway. It's the unconscious, right? So, like, seeing that where we need to be more present is the places where we already know we're going unconscious, the places where we know we are asleep. It's like, okay, I know that there are these specific places in my life where movement needs to occur, but the issue is that I often find myself going to sleep in the opposite action that I want to take. It's like I say I want to do this thing, but then I go unconscious and I do the exact opposite, right? Um, I think that there is a really beautiful reminder here that these things can change, that they are going to change, that they will change, and that the more that we allow ourselves to be in the seat of our own power and be the authority over our own lives, the more we can affect that change to actually occur in the ways that we want it to go, opposed to the ways that it will just go, either, I'm going to say, like, the ways that it will go in autopilot, right? It's like we're either driving, we're either in the driver's seat, which I see as the emperor with the wheel is like in the driver, right? It's the driver's seat. So, like, we're either in the driver's seat or we are asleep in relationship to our resources. That's what I'm looking at. What is the highest vision of how you want to see resources used on earth? How can you bring that high vision down into your life? How can you allow that vision to be a part of what is, it's almost like the roadmap, like you're in the driver's seat driving your life, and you're following this specific star because you know it's going to take you to the fucking little king, right? So you're like driving this car to get to that light, to get to that vision. And I mean, the darker the night, the darker you go, the harder it is to kind of access that part of you that's like, wait, how do I want to say that? Yeah, I'm almost thinking about the moon kind of being in the back seat, it's like the part of you that is just letting something else drive. It's like the part of you that is just like more comfortable with just like not being in charge. um I think where we really need more presence is the part of us that is afraid of our own power, that is afraid to admit that we actually have the power to create real change for ourselves, the part of ourselves that has maybe affected change in ways that um, weren't so good in the past and had to take responsibility for it. So now it's kind of just like frozen in fear around what it means to actually have to be responsible. I'm like, yeah, like if I claim ignorance, if I claim naivety, if I'm just like, I'm a bimbo, I don't know anything, like, oh my God, I don't know how to use money, like, I don't know what's going on, like, and I just wait for someone else to come in and take the driver's seat, I can assure you that like it's never going to go exactly where I want to go because I'm not driving. You know what I mean? I'm not the one who is like really directing my life. I'm allowing the unconscious or other people to come in and direct it for me. And that it's just not like it's just not going to bring us into, I think, a full realization of what we can do in our lives, and the magic that could exist in our lives if we were to really take the wheel and drive from that place of like true inspiration. What actually inspires us? What inspires me is communities of people coming together to like help each other and like support each other. And like what inspires me is this idea of like a new economy. What inspires me is this idea of like money being exchanged between us and divested from the billionaires. What inspires me is this idea of like art and love and freedom and magic for all people to be the priority of the new culture, where it's like, yeah, art actually is an important part and it is built into the structures of our culture. That's what fucking inspires me. The idea of like freedom for people to just express whatever magical beliefs they have in relationship to God, in relationship to spirit, like freedom for all people to be able to feel safe. That's what inspires me. That's what fucking inspires me. And if I'm not driving the wheel of my life, if I'm not taking authority over my life to really align my life with what inspires me, I'm wasting my resources. I'm wasting my resources. It is time to wake up. It's time to wake up in the places you need to wake up so that you can drive in alignment with that star, that you can allow that star to guide you. If you are free this evening from 7 until 9, we're going to be connecting with the North Star. We're going to be blessing our art in the future of this year, and we're going to be blessing the art of Spirit Issue 2. It would be so beautiful to have you there. If you can't make it live, you can, for a donation, watch the recording at a later time. Unless you are already registered, then you will get it for free post the event. So I love you so much. Thank you so much. I hope that this reading was helpful, and happy solstice. Blessed night. Mwah.